Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sevilla. I love, yes, that's my real name. And here we are on this channel, getting back to living and loving life again after a major life-altering loss, such as being widowed. Now, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that there's a lot of suffering going on in the world right now, and every large collective suffering goes down also to the individual suffering. And so today we're going to be doing a little bit to ease your suffering, hopefully, by doing a larger part of being the change we all wish to see in the world. So if you have an opportunity to do something kind for yourself and for others today, please do so consciously with great and loving intention. So today I've got something special for you. I had a viewer write in and ask a question publicly in one of the videos. And I thought it was such a good question because it was very pertinent to so many other people's struggles in regards to dating a widow or a widower, and such a great example. And so I've got an extra bonus attached to this as well, because the nature of this question was about, is this man who's the widower that this woman is dating, and I'm going to call her Jane, that Jane is dating, is he really ready to fully give his heart to her? Now, because that was such an important question, I reached out to a good friend of mine who is also a widower. Now, he's someone who's a very intelligent man, and he deeply, deeply, deeply loved his wife, as most all of us do, for our late spouses. For those of you new to the channel, yes, I am a widow. However, this friend of mine, and I'm going to call him John, he feels pretty strongly that he's never going to be able to truly, deeply fall in love again. Now, that being said, he's dated several women since his wife passed, and even engaged a little bit more deeply with a couple of people. And I'm going to share with you his opinion as well as my own to this viewer who wrote in. And so without further ado, we're going to hop right into that. Okay, so this viewer, Jane, writes in and she says, 11 months into a relationship with a widower, and it's gotten to a point where I don't know how he feels about me. He wants to continue as things are and see how things develop between us, but I'm unsure that he can love me. Am I feeling a void? I have feelings for him, but I think I'm just a special friend. I mean, anytime I broach my feelings, he visibly recoils. He is affectionate when we're together, but cool in his messages. Very friend zone. I am his first girlfriend, and it's been 7 years since his wife died. He has adult children, 2 live at home. His house is full of her photos. There's a shrine for her. She is with him on his phone. So every time he puts his phone on the table, I see them together, which makes me feel like a mistress. And he wears her wedding ring, which is okay with me, but because he doesn't wear his, I'm not sure that I can cope with the feeling of not being enough. If he had feelings of love, wouldn't he be behaving differently towards me? I have met all of his family and friends. I mean, I'm not a secret. We went away for 7 weeks together, and I don't feel like we've moved forward in our relationship. He's not prepared to say he loves me, although I feel that he does, but then he withdraws. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. I'm holding back my feelings as I don't want to force him. I'm trying to give him the time he wants to develop his feelings, to make his choices. I accept that she will always be part of him, and I'm not asking him to take all the memorabilia out of their life together away. It's sweet that he wears her wedding ring, but the feeling she is so dominant in his life is unnerving. Is he really ready to keep her in a quiet corner of his heart, embrace his feeling for me? Do I walk away before I get hurt, or stay and give it more time? Sincerely, very emotionally confused. That's the end of her letter. Now, I'm just going to put this in before I jump into John's response, because I'm going to share John's response because he's a male in a similar situation, a male widower in a similar situation who may have this type of response to a woman that he's attracted to or really interested in. Of course, this is not the same person, so it's just an opinion. However, this is something that's pretty weighty, and there's so many moving factors here. Now, Jane's given us quite a bit of information, but there's some things that she hasn't quite shared yet. So we're going to have to infer information. I'm going to infer that you're at least in midlife together, given that he has adult children, and that you have had a significant amount of time together, which is at least 11 months. Now, by the time we're reading this on YouTube, it's probably been over a year. Okay, so you have some good time underneath your belt. So let's get into John's response first before we get into mine. So this is what John the widower says in response to Jane. John says, first, I think I can relate to this guy quite a bit. 7 years is a good chunk of time. However, while I hope that in 4 more years, I'm not still stuck in the current rut that I am. Though I would admit that it would not surprise me if I was. That said, out of the approximately 9 to 12 women that I dated, some just once, I only had feelings for one of those women, but she didn't reciprocate. I didn't love her, of course, but she is the only one that I could see being with, or eventually falling in love with, possibly having an extended relationship with. This woman seems to be pretty understanding. He's speaking of Jane. She understands about the pictures and the wedding ring. I mean, I have pictures up and I wouldn't take them down, but I do not wear my wedding ring any longer. I feel like wearing your wedding ring on a date was tacky, and that sends the wrong signal. To me, this gentleman is not over the loss. Although I hate that term because you never get over it, but I guess the better phrase is he is not ready to move forward. And I understand that. I don't think I am either. We hold our spouse so closely, so near and dear to our heart, that there are numerous conflicting emotions that run through you. I mean, one is, I can truly give myself completely. One is, can I truly give myself completely to another person? Because at the end of the day, when you do that, you make yourself vulnerable. Now that you've done that once and we're extremely hurt and traumatized by the loss, do you want to subject yourself to that again? It's like touching the hot stove. You get burned. Okay, not going to do that again. It didn't feel good. That is really an honest question that everyone who loses a spouse has to ask. You have to weigh the risk reward. Some people are willing and some people are not. John goes on to say, I've ran across this before in my 2-year dating experience. Women who refuse to date widowers because of previous experiences. There are also women who have a sort of jealousy about a dead spouse. I remember talking to a woman on the phone, and she knew I had lost Benita, my wife, and I just let her talk. But I remember her saying specifically, I don't want to be second. But here's the thing, at the risk of sounding like a shitty person, the reality is, for me anyway, another person will always be second. Now, before you jump on me for that, you have to remember that I am a realistic man. I'm not saying that it is impossible for another woman to have all of the traits that made Benita so lovable and compatible with me, but the reality is it is highly unlikely. Benita was nearly the perfect match for me, and only nearly because no one or nothing is perfect. I think I said this to you already. Perhaps it was my mom. I can't remember, but finding Benita was like winning the lottery, and you generally only win the lottery once if you do it all. John continues on. He says, all of that said, it does not mean that this person cannot be first today. She can be first in my life today, but therein lies another complication. You didn't say how old this viewer was. And to me, that makes a difference. I know people might disagree, but I strongly believe that age is a factor. Here's why I say that. Benita and I fell in love. Yes, but we also spent 27 years developing a bond and forming a relationship that is so strong and so powerful that yes, someone else will be second to Benita. I don't have 27 years left, most likely, to form another bond that strong, even if the person was compatible. Now, my last piece of thoughts or opinion here is that love is a powerful thing. I don't think that this man would be recoiling if he was truly in love with Jane. Love conquers many things, but I'm talking about true love. It's either that or he's getting close, but only so close because he has these feelings of betrayal to his former wife if he gets too close. Either way, my assessment would be the same. He truly isn't in love with her. That's my opinion for what it's worth. So I just want to thank John for taking the time to respond from his similar shoes position and his experience as a widower and his assessment of Jane's situation and the feedback that he so kindly took the time to give at my request. So thank you, John, for that. So now I want to give some of my own feedback. Let's just take this whole picture and just look at it from the top down. Okay. So Jane, you have this man who is doing a lot of things for you. He is showing up. I am assuming that he's there for you all the time. He has introduced you to his friends and family. And that's a big hallmark piece of a man who truly wants to embrace you, is by sharing you with his family. Okay. So that's a big thing. I imagine he shows up and does things, acts of service and love for you on a probably regular and consistent basis. But there's this emotional piece that's missing, that it's like, it's the barrier which he overpasses not. Okay. He's like Gandalf standing there, you shall not pass. And I think what John said was poignant, because this vulnerability that a widow or widower feels after the loss of a spouse is profound. And unless you've gone through it yourself, it's extremely hard to understand, even though everyone experiences that particular type of loss differently, because each human being is 100% unique. We do share things in common and on a continuum, so there's just kind of like this bell curve, and we're all on it somewhere along that bell curve. And so I think what John has to say, that this vulnerability that your partner, Jane, may have, is something that he needs to find some healing around. Now, I think this is something that you're like, yeah, he needs healing. He sounds like if he steps over that barrier of vulnerability, for truly letting you in, he may be feeling like he's doing two things. One, truly betraying. It's kind of like not going too far. Whenever let's just get a little bit real here, okay? When you were younger, or you were a teenager and you were kissing and you were getting to first base and second base and third base, but you didn't get all the way. You didn't get all the way. It's kind of like this. You only go so far, but you're not going all the way. So that means you can say that you're still a virgin, or you really didn't completely give yourself to this person yet, or you can still hold on to some title that you have for yourself about somebody who doesn't do this or that. I don't know if this is a good analogy for you, but for those of you that might be able to relate to that, and maybe there's other things, it's like, well, I only drink, I don't smoke pot, right? It's like, okay, so there's like, I do this, but I don't do that. So that makes me okay, or that makes me pure or better, or that, like, I'm not really, really, really doing it. And so this guy's kind of in a state of fooling himself, that if he doesn't go over this barrier, then he's not truly betraying his wife in his heart. And so he's doing everything but giving his full heart. I think this is true. And the question you're asking is he ever going to change? Should you keep waiting for him? And it comes down to this, Jane, is that you have to decide what's enough for you. What's enough for you? You know, John has said, from his male opinion, this man's not truly deeply in love with you. If he were, he'd be able to give you his heart. And here's the thing. In order to truly be deeply in love with someone, you have to be vulnerable. You cannot get to being in love. You cannot get to that depth of intimacy and bonding without vulnerability, without it. So your relationship will always be surface. Okay. It'll be, you're my girlfriend. You're part of my life. I have love for you. I enjoy you. And this is a pretty good way to spend the rest of my life since my wife's not here. And that sounds like the attitude that he's got. And he's keeping you in that pen. I don't believe this man intends to do you harm. He probably wants the best for you. So here's the other thing is that, Jane, this isn't about you. And you've got to know this. This is not about you or your worth or your value or what a great girlfriend you are or not. This is about him and his guilt. And this is about him and his inability or his unwillingness to be that vulnerable again. Because the ripping out of one's heart and soul after the spouse dies when they didn't want them to is an extraordinary pain and loss. Now, some people are brave enough to jump back in and do it over and try again and open up space in their life and their hearts for someone else, because they recognize love is infinite. They recognize that even though that the love they had for their late spouse is precious and vital and ongoing, eternal bond, that also this can exist too, and that they're willing to explore this new adventure because they're still here. Your guy doesn't sound like he's in that space. And John and I would both agree on that. He's not in that space. It doesn't mean that he's not capable of it. No, it doesn't mean that he's not capable. But if things continue as they are, he may not know. He may not know if he could ever truly give himself to you, unless perhaps he's at risk of losing you too. You know, that might be the one wake-up call he needs. And I'm not advocating playing any games with him, but you deciding what's enough and what's not enough for you. And here's the other thing. This man may have been emotionally withheld. He may have emotionally withheld himself with his wife as well. So there's this possibility that he was always this way. And even though he has a shrine to his wife and he has pictures on his phone, he might not have been emotionally available to her. And maybe he feels guilty about that. And so now he's doubly withholding it from you so he can continue to give it to her in the afterlife. I don't know that that's true, but it's possible. And so the question about, you know, all the little things, like the picture of his wife on his phone. So here's some things that you can try, right? And something that you can try rather than just to write him off is to share how you feel, Jane. And it may look something that's not demanding, that's not controlling, and that's not critical. Because in my experience, men don't respond very well to that. And if any of their guys out there disagree with me and find directives anything less than controlling, you let me know. But what I do find is that men respond well to feeling respected. And what that might look like in a situation like this, because you have a right to express yourself, you have a right to share what you feel. It might say, and let's just call him Davy, okay? So you say, Davy, may I share my feelings with you. And Davy will most likely say, yeah, okay, what's going on? And you say, I feel insecure and I feel a lack of significance right now. And then maybe he says, well, what are you feeling like that for? Well, when you pull your phone out and I see you and your wife on it, I feel unseen and I feel unimportant in your life. Even though I know and recognize you love her and will always love her, I feel whatever it is you feel. Okay. You put that in there. Now, the feeling words, Jane, has to be not critical. Okay. And you just stand in the feeling itself. So, like, I feel like you're not seeing me versus I feel unseen. Do you see the difference? One's kind of accusatory and one is just standing fully and owning your feelings for what they are. And you're right as a feminine, beautiful woman to have those feelings, and then to be able to express that to him. I feel unseen and I'm feeling unimportant right now. And that makes me feel sad. I feel sad and I feel lonely. And I'm wondering if I could have some help with that. Okay, this is the next key, is ask for his help, because he may be very unaware of how this makes you feel. And I notice this a lot with men in particular. And this is this isn't to say anything bad towards men, but they tend to be more single-minded about things. It's like, I've got a task to do, I got a job to finish, I'm here, I'm present with you. What more do you want? And so it's not that they are doing this to hurt you. It's just kind of this obliviousness. He's just always had that picture on his phone and he may not give it too much thought, except that it's a constancy in his life and it may bring him some unconscious comfort. Now, what I've recommended to clients before who have had a picture on their phone and they're starting to date again, they get a picture of their spouse and their late spouse on their phone and they're dating again. What do? They feel guilty about taking it off. And so my recommendation to them has been, why don't you find something else that you love? It might be your animal. You can see my dog over here. This is Otis, my French bulldog. You might put your animal on it, your grandkids, your best friend, time you had out fishing, but anything other than the picture of the spouse or something that's directly related to them, but something else that you love. And it may not need to be a picture of you, because grief needs dosing, right? You have to move in small steps. So this may be a small step for him to have something different on his phone. And you could make a recommendation about what else he could put on his phone, but I would hesitate for that, because you want him to be able to decide for himself what he wants to do about that. Okay. And so if you don't make a recommendation and you don't tell him what he should do or what he should have on his phone, now he's free to make a decision about how he wants to care for this problem that you have, that is now something that's in his lap. He may have the opportunity to be able to fix for you, to show you that he cares. Okay. So again, just to review, that may look like expressing a desire to ask a question. So this is just being respectful. It's not that, you're not being subservient. It's just a respectful way. When you ask somebody for permission to ask a question, then especially when it's a sensitive situation, that then opens up their heart and mind to be able to hear you. Okay. So hear that. So may I share my feeling with you? Sure. Go ahead. Share your feeling. I feel insecure and I feel insecurity. I feel a little fear in my belly. I feel uncomfortable and I'm just feeling a little sad. Why are you feeling that way? I'm feeling that way because when we go out and I see your phone and you pull it out, And see this beautiful picture of you and your wife on it. I feel all of these emotions in my body, and I feel less than in the moment. And I'm wondering, here's the next key. May I have some help with that? I don't know what to do with these feelings. May I have some help with that? And allow him to lead you and guide you. Okay, because this is his thing. This is you owning your feelings. This is not, trying to control or manipulate. This is just you fully owning what you have and giving him the problem that's present for you. So now he knows how you feel, and allow him to decide what needs to be done about it. Now, you're releasing control of any choice that he makes. Now, this is just about the picture. This could be done with this approach is a very feminine approach, can be used with a lot of different things. Now, if you're a man and the situation is reversed and you're dating a woman and she's the widow and you're dating her, then I would recommend you do this in a different way, because I would recommend that you come to it from a masculine frame, and that would look very different. Now, I want you all to know that I do offer private coaching and consultation sessions. So I'm going to put the link below in the description here. If you would like to have a private session with me, I do offer that. These things are complicated, and you deserve to have love. You deserve to be cherished. And I think a lot of these widows and widowers, they're just stuck in certain areas. And they do have the capacity to move beyond it, but sometimes they need a little bit of help. Most people aren't willing to get any kind of counseling or support or coaching. And so you're left to, how can you control for yourself? And so, Jane, I want to recommend that you really lean into your self-care, that you really lean into understanding, what do I feel and what do I want in any kind of situation? And then you honor that. And you honor that by expressing what you feel in a respectful, loving, caring way to your partner. And then you allow them and release control and let them decide what they're going to do with it. And then you have a choice to make if their responses don't feel like they're going anywhere for you, because then you may need to move away. You may choose to stay. All of these things are choices, and they're all okay. The bottom line is that you all deserve to be loved and cherished, and all of these lovely men out here dating widowed women deserve to be respected and honored and cared for. And I think that's possible for everyone. And so if there's anything on this channel that helped you today, please, share it with your partners if you feel they might receive it well. Like this video and put a comment below if you have an opinion about what could have been done in these situations, or what your experience has been. I mean, even if you want to be like, this sucks, do it. Share your thoughts and opinions, because they all matter. They all count. And you never know what you might share could be helpful to someone else. So like I said in the beginning, to do something kind for yourself today, and to also do a kindness to someone else, even if it's giving a smile, because each and every little action that we take has a ripple effect. And the world really needs that right now. So this is my effort at a ripple today, and the rest is in your hands.